Welcome to Gallant Tutors Academy. So today we're going to be looking at a new topic in government. So if this is your first time on this channel, I would like you to hit the like button, subscribe and click the notification bell, and let's move on. So today we're going to be looking at a topic called electoral process. So, under electoral process, we're going to be looking at some key points after defining electoral process. So, one major head point we're going to be talking about is suffrage. So, let's begin by talking about what electoral process is all about. So, I believe a lot of us know what electoral process is about, because electoral process is all the activities that take place before, after, and within an election. So, electoral process, we are going to be looking at the first point today, which is known as suffrage. So, suffrage in a layman term is right to vote, because it is the fundamental right of every individual of a country that is above the legal age to vote. So, suffrage is the right to vote. So in different countries there are different ages and different criteria for voting. So in the country Nigeria, the criteria for voting is that individual must be at least 8 years. So there is no external qualification, for example, like money in the bank, which was used in the 1960s election, because you need to have at least £100 in your account as that year to be able to vote in an election. So there is no kind of qualification that is required for that on monetary basis. So the only qualification in Nigeria is to be 18 plus. That's the qualification to vote and be voted for in Nigeria. So let's look briefly at the history of suffrage. The history of suffrage. So suffrage came about due to the agitation from some certain individuals, in the sense that because they are not allowed to vote, it's denying them of their right. So suffrage back in the olden days, in the 18th century, only men were allowed to vote. Not just men, but men that had sufficient influence on others. So it came about as a result of agitation from the peasants and the workers, from those men, to be able to vote, and as well from women, because those days the women weren't allowed to vote. So the first country to allow women to vote was Scotland. Scotland was the first country to allow women to vote. So after that action, allowing women to vote, a lot of countries began to agitate also to allow their women to vote. That was what brought about the participation of women in political activities. So moving on now, we're going to be looking at some types of suffrage. So the type of suffrage are universal suffrage, which is the general suffrage, which we know about because it's the general suffrage, also known as general suffrage or unlimited suffrage. We also have women's suffrage, which is the right of women to vote and be voted for in an election. We also have other type of suffrage as well. So let's move on to Alright, so we talked about women suffrage. That's the last one on suffrage. So we're going to move on to limitations to suffrage now. So there are certain limitations to the right of an individual to vote, because not every individual can just vote at any time, but there can be some things that can come up at some point in time to hamper that right to vote. So an example of things that can disrupt the right to vote is war. For example, when there is war, for example, terrorism in a land now that causes war, that leads to war. So there won't be voting in that country. There won't be anybody coming out to vote. That is when the right to universal suffrage is hampered with. So another thing is declaration, government declaration. Government declaration is also an order that directs a certain group of people not to vote. It can also hamper the use of suffrage in a country. So there are also demerits and merits to the suffrage in a country or the suffrage in the electoral process. So the merit is that it helps individuals make their decisions for their leader. Individuals can easily make decisions of the kind of leaders they want, the criteria that they put on their leaders, and what to expect of their leaders. Alright, so everything has advantages and disadvantages. And another a disadvantage is that the influential politicians or the influential people who make decisions can easily influence the illiterates that are voting, because they are just qualified by age, but they are not educationally equipped to know the rules of election. So they just vote on anybody that comes to mind. So they are very easy to manipulate by the politician. That's the demerit of suffrage in a country. So today we'll call it a wrap on this topic. To gain more access to the topic, I would like to join Gallant Tutors Premium class, which is holding every single day, and we provide videos and note tutorials on every single topic combined together. So if you want to join our premium class, I would say you should click the link down in the description, send a message to our secretary, and they will add you right up to the class. So that's how we call it a wrap today. Thank you for joining us.